Okay, so we're going to do a presentation on Closer Survival Guide. Get this stuff out of the way. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, cool. So I've mentioned this book once or twice already to you guys, I believe. And again, as all things with Mr. Grant Cardone, you have to basically take about 40% of what he says and then leave the rest. Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 times. So I do have this book. I am going to be referring to it. I do recommend that you get a copy of it. But more importantly, I've learned that the audio version on Audible fleshes this book out in ways that the book itself doesn't. And it's actually really helpful to hear him deliver these closes. So I do recommend you read the book and get the audio program. And I'm not being paid to say this. Now, I'll tell you what, if you're wanting to skimp on cost, you could just get the audio program, and then I've created that Word document that I think I've shared with you guys that has kind of my top 40 or 50 closes or so. So, okay, so guys, how else do I say this? You have to be successful in this skill set. To get not just to be successful in this business, but to just get what you want in life and to serve your clients and to provide for your family. You're going to be catapulted to new levels of confidence and income when you're able to close. People will stop toying with you. They'll stop shopping you around. They'll stop disrespecting you. They'll stop wasting your time. And you'll be able to control and predict your income with these skills. So I don't know what could be more important than that in this business. And I was never taught this. This was never brought to my attention. In fact, I didn't even know that this was something that existed. Yeah, I'd heard of selling, and maybe I guess I understood that closing was some sort of step in that process. But it's sort of like saying, if it's a wholly different skill set. And yeah, to be successful in what you want in life, you really have to be ready and able and willing to address these skills as almost like an art and a science. So let's kind of look at each of these documents in turn. So we are always closing. You have to really think about every part of your life as consistently, in some sort of form of negotiation. Again, whether you're choosing which bathroom stall to go to, or where to get off the highway, or what you and your spouse are going to eat for dinner, or anything else. I mean, if you're unable to see that as a skill set, then you're never going to get what you want in life. And yeah, life is all about negotiating. So the only way to become a pro is to practice, drill, and rehearse. If you're an amateur at this, you will get destroyed. There's no other way about it. And it won't be other people destroying you. It will be your own confidence level and your own ability to feel confident in addressing people and asking them to take action. Whatever it is, go to see a certain movie or to work with you as an advisor. So why is it that people fail in sales? And why are there so many people, so many bodies on both on the war fields of salesmanship in this country? Again, what we talked about with the Sell or Be Sold book was that we're all in sales. And we all learned that we're already in the sales process in our business, whether we're a secretary or a manager or a sales guy or you name it, teacher. We're always in the midst of selling, but people fail not because they're not good at sales, but because they haven't practiced the close. So if there's any kind of bear trap in the sales process, it's the close. And again, never really talked about. And they are very different skills. It's just like marketing is different than selling, or selling is different than customer service. Well, closing is different than selling. And it's an important skill set that we really have to pay attention to and address and refine and practice. Okay, so there's this thing called the critical exchange point. If you stop before the close, was there really any value exchanged? The real value is there when there's actually some action taken and the exchange between two parties happens. Just learning about Bank on Yourself doesn't change somebody's life. That's where action comes into play. That's where that baseball bat comes into play, right, Beth? No, just kidding. So again, I always tell folks, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. The worst thing I could have on my gravestone is he had such potential.
Ugh.
I want to say, he proved himself. I would love to see something like that on my gravestone. I want to see he took action, or he took the potential and made it provenness. So this critical survival exchange point is really the key moment where something actually happens. All up until this point, you've been having positioning statements, you've been inviting people, you've been slowly closing them on one step at a time, helping them through a process, right? So from the positioning statement to the intro /FF, from the intro to the CQ, from the CQ to the PS. And now at the end of the PS, there's an important critical exchange point. And without that close, there's no exchange. And without the exchange, there's no real value. Okay, so the buyer's looking to acquire some sort of an agreement. If there's no close, there's no exchange, there's no value added. And until that exchange takes place, there's no value created, no benefit to the person, no close. Meaning if you get to the gym and you get dressed and then you just go home, no value was really added there, right? So you have to really take that next step and actually do something. So again, is it selling or is it closing? You can't just sell. You have to learn to take that. There's this feeling that changes in the room when you go from selling to closing, and it's the most vital step in the exchange point. Can your proposal that you gave your client change their life? No. The PS packet is not itself in and of itself going to change somebody's world. Unless they implement that solution into their life, there's no real value in just impressing people with a bunch of silly numbers on a sheet of paper. That's the biggest waste of time ever, right? Selling is crucial. Implementing is even more crucial. The end game is the close. So that's what today's presentation is really all about. Most people think, and I used to think too, that if I just know enough about my product, if I'm enthusiastic enough, if I'm nice enough, if I'm likable, then I'll be fine. All will be well and people will just sign on the dotted line. But unfortunately, no matter how nice you are, how great your presentation, you still have to get in the close. So this is about moving beyond selling and getting to closing. Okay. So yeah, again, people have said that money makes the world go round. Well, closing makes it possible for money to go around the world. So it's that moment where that exchange takes place, where your client gets your product, you get money from the close, and then you can get closed on buying things you want in life, right? And thus an economy is created, right? So until there's an exchange, there is no economy. So that's why I think he rightfully says in his book that closers are the ones that make the money go around the world, and thereby creating the economy that we all rely on for our jobs and everything else. So it's a truly, I feel, kind of honored to be a part of that exchange, to be a part of that economy creation. That's why I don't really care when someone says that they lost their job because it was a bad economy, or, hey, I didn't make enough last year because it was a bad economy. That's totally not a legitimate excuse, in my opinion. We create our own economies. And guys, there's even some benefit to a down economy, right? When the Wall Street world is crashing again, whenever that day comes, who do you think they're going to be going to? You guys are going to be flooded with appointments and people calling on you because they're going to remember that Amanda said that she's all about safe money solutions. And that Beth said that she wants to work with people who want to grow their wealth safely and predictably. So anyway, that's the economy creation of closing. Okay, so it's in that. So it's important to remember that you only want to close when you know there's a winner's exchange. So this is super important. The client feels this like this value is received when it's greater than the value that they've given you. So in other words, if what was received was actually worth more than what was given to you in exchange, you'll be able to repeat that process. So it's more valuable to have your product, the client says, than what they had to give up to get it. So guys, we ask a lot of folks that want to be your clients. I mean, literally, they will take blood from your clients. Okay, I don't know many prices higher than that. All right, not to mention the cost of insurance and so forth, and the growth, and the just the learnings, the time it takes to learn something new. Those are all exchanges, and what we need is the value that they're going to get from that policy or financial solution greater than the money or time or energy or literally blood that they had to give up to get it. Okay, people will tell others about you when you can consistently give them a winner's exchange. I just got off the phone with someone doing an application, and he's given me a referral. And again, what do you do whenever you? I mean, he brought it up, so I got to check my little box on my referrals. My little goal of 5 asks a week. Well, I guess I didn't technically ask him, but I mean, I did ask him for how do you spell his last name? How do you spell his first name? How do you what's his phone? So he actually, by the time I asked him how do you spell his first name, he already started in on, well, here's his phone number, here's his email address. And I'm like, all right, cool. I don't have to ask those questions. But yeah, this is a guy who already has a policy with me, and he's getting a second policy and tripling his contributions in the process to the second policy. And he's going to get rid of all the loan sharks on his business and recapture $30,000 of interest payments a year. So you better believe that's a value that he received. Okay, I hardly had to close him because he already knows the value. Okay, so again, don't fall into Walmart's trap here. The lowest price does not win. We've all been sold that Walmart is giving us this lowest price, but not all of us are Walmart until we can control the vendors and the sellers. So lowest price is not going to be what gives you the winner's exchange. Okay, the goal of the closer, regardless of your role in life, you are a closer. I mean, Evie, our daughter, is a lethal closer. She will shut me down. If I need to get out the door yesterday morning, and she had a book in her hand and wanted me to read it with her, and the eyes and the lips and the nose and the little doggy eyes, I was reading that book. I got closed, and I was fine with it. That's a winner's exchange right there. So to the degree that you know what you did to close the deal is to the degree that you will prosper and will be able to predict your own income. Let me say that again. To the degree that you know what you did to close the last deal is the degree to which you will prosper. Was it just dumb luck? Did we just get out of that last PS yesterday, Amanda, just because we just had dumb luck? Or, I mean, anybody can trip over a close, right? And just not know what made it work. You really have to have your eyes open to know that you know how to handle every objection and stall. Yeah, so that you can predict your income in your future. It's really quite phenomenal. Like, even in the midst of the PS yesterday, Amanda, I was basically aware of sort of what was going to happen, what was going to come up. I even can look at the clock and say, all right, here's how many more minutes we're going to be doing this. Here's how many more minutes we're going to be doing that. And it's a little spooky. And I still have a lot to learn for sure. This is all still just learning and continuing to build on what we have here. But you want your eyes to be wide open to what's going on when you enter into that close or that solution meeting. Okay. Know the close. The more K knowledge and W wisdom, the less NO you'll hear. A little hokey, but I like it. Yeah. The more know the less know. Okay. The more K and OW, the less NO you'll hear. Actors, athletes, they practice before the event to get good and create their own experience. Okay. Why do you think we would be any different? He says even an idiot can learn from experiences, but the best create the scenarios where they can get the results they desire. You know, if you don't know how you got successful yesterday, how are you going to be successful tomorrow? You know, if it's just wandering through business that you're looking for, you know, you'll probably not be very successful. Most sales folks, you know, kind of just get into the sales presentation or the proposal meeting and just kind of keep their fingers crossed and hold their breath and hope that nothing bad goes on. And, you know, month after month, you can't predict your income. You won't be able to know how successful you're going to be. And you just have to keep moving on with all these question marks around your business. Well, what am I going to make next month? I have no idea. So if you don't know what you did to be successful, you can't repeat it. Okay, so a salesperson is only paid to close. You are not paid to sell. You're paid to close. That's where the money is. That's where 100% of the money is. Without the C, you get lose. When you don't close the deal, you lose. There's no cost greater than the cost of a lost deal. Think about that for a minute. How much time have you put into that relationship with that person to help them through the meetings, the intro, the FF, the emails you've sent them, you know, the wondering what you should say next, the time in the appointments itself, the back and forth, the rescheduling, the phone calls, the follow-up, and you get to the PS and they say, no thanks. Boy, what a waste. There's no, not to mention the waste of the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they'll lose over their lifetime by not taking action. One of my favorite things in the PS is seeing that lifetime loss chart, because it shows here's how much money you'll lose out on if you just decide not to move forward today. Okay, so again, practice, drill, rehearse before you get in the arena, before you get into that meeting with that person, the solution meeting. Literally record yourself. That's why we want to record ourselves later today. Know why your clients do and don't close. With this certainty comes confidence, and with that confidence comes financial freedom. There's no greater skill than to have a more important influence with others than to be able to predict your own income. Okay, so again, the degree to which you can get a determined value and an exchange determines your stability and productivity and your value in the marketplace. So once again, to the degree that you're able to get a determined value and an exchange with the client determines your stability and productivity and your value in the marketplace. So it's literally the difference between success and failure here, guys. This might be, among others, this might be one of the most important presentations of training. So those that can close will love life. Those that cannot close will consistently dread it. If you walk into a PS with dread, that's not a good sign. The client's going to notice that, and it's not going to go well. But those that know how to get the close, can get past the objections, will be able to predict their incomes and get whatever they want in life. Okay. So yeah, if you fail in the close, you lose. You lose. Your family loses. Your company loses. This is not a small potatoes conversation here, guys. All right. So here's a rule. Yeah, if you can't predict your income, there's something you are short on knowing. Either you don't know what you want, or you don't know how to get it, or both. So again, if you can't predict your income, there's something you're short on knowing. Either you don't know what you want, or you don't know how to get it. And I find most of the time it's the latter for me. Most of the time I know what I want, but I just don't know how to go get it. So adding knowledge to desire sooner or later helps me achieve my dreams. I need to add knowledge and desire. It's that lack of knowledge that helps me get to where I need to go. If I add knowledge to the fire in my belly, you know, then sooner or later I'll end up achieving my dreams. Yeah, learning from experience is expensive. It's probably the most expensive way to learn. I mean, you guys just put out that podcast about the Business Activist Academy, and it was all about, hey, learn from people who've been there. Learn from people who've been successful in starting a startup business. Don't just learn from experience. Learning from experience is very expensive. If you just walk into a deal unprepared, I mean, that's one way to learn, but it's the most expensive. And actually, it wastes more time than the time it would take for you to practice, drill, rehearse. Think about that. You know, 100% of your time with that client was wasted. And if you just spent even 3-4 hours practicing before you got to that meeting to get the yes, wouldn't that be a good investment of your time? So yeah, most salespeople, even seasoned salespeople, don't know about the skills of closing. By the time you know, maybe over the years, if you're learning through experience, maybe eventually you can accumulate some real wisdom on closing, but by then you're about ready to retire, right? So, it'd be better to learn prior to the close than after the events where you lost the deal. By the way, it's not just financially expensive, it's emotionally expensive too. Katrina could probably tell you stories about how I just absolutely felt awful after I lost a deal I thought I had, and then they just decided to walk away. It's like the 99 and the one. You go chasing after the one, even though you had 99 yeses, you're going after the one no. It's almost like your brain fixates on it, like some sort of drug or something, withdrawal period. So yeah, there is a science to predicting the yes. When you shoot a rocket into the moon, you can't just shoot it in the sky hoping and praying that it goes well. You have to really put some thought and not just a desire to get to the moon. You need to put a lot of scientific engineering and scientific precision to get you there, to get you out into space. So yeah, where is the security in your work if you can't predict your income? Fear is an indicator that you don't know something. So this is an important factor. If you notice when you go into a PS, or once you get close to the end of the PS, if you notice your heart starting to beat really fast or your palms getting a little sweaty, that's probably something that you should pay attention to, because it's usually an indicator that you don't know what to do next. And this presentation and that book will help you at least have some tools to get you to the moon, okay? To help you know what to do next. If you're starting, one more thing, if you catch yourself blaming others, your prospects, your product, well, it's just everyone wants a bigger rate of return than Bank on Yourself can offer. Oh, the industry is just too regulated. I can't be successful because I'm just told no everywhere I go. It's never them, okay? It's usually a latent response to you not knowing something. So never blame the prospect or client. Okay, so here's a harsh reality, and then I promise we'll get to some good stuff. So either you're closing or you're being closed with every interaction with your clients and prospects. All right, either you're closing or you're being closed. There's no other outcome. Losing the deal adds fuel to negative emotions. And over time, you can really become, you start to rationalize it. Oh, it's just the way it is. Okay, I'm just going to have to accept that I'm going to lose about half of all my prospects in the close. They're just going to walk away. I just have to get used to it. Here's my flea jar. I'm just going to live in it. So everyone loses when you fail to close your prospect. Regardless of your likability, if you can't close them, it doesn't matter how likable people think you are. This is a hard thing for me to hear. So I'm reading it straight from Grant here. But you can't close without relationship. I need to, I guess, be explicit about this. You have to have, right? The difference between contacts and contracts is the letter R, relationship. So you need relationship, but it's not just about being nice and friendly. If it was just about being nice and friendly, people would just send us checks in the mail. Okay, so we have to do something more than just being nice and friendly. Otherwise, you're not going to get that deal. Okay, so this is kind of cool. I thought this was nice. Dreams don't require dreamers. Well, but even if it does require a dreamer, more importantly, dreams require closers. All dreams require action. If you have a dream to see 1,000 people, off the dole of credit cards and off the dole of Wall Street, it's going to take some action. And no dream can become a reality without someone closing someone else on that dream coming true. Yeah, so dreams don't require dreamers. Dreams require closers. If Steve Jobs didn't know how to close the deal, we wouldn't have smartphones in our pockets, even if he had the dream to put one on every person. All right, so a couple of irrational fears. Yeah, the close is the time when you ask someone to take some sort of action. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's always about value. So you're closing them to have the CQ, right? At the end of the intro, there's some sort of close event where you're asking for some sort of action, and the value that you're asking for is time. Hey, all it would take is an hour and 15 minutes of your time, and we'd be able to sit down and review your financial situation, would you be open to that? That's a close question. Now, most people's hearts start to race. The closer you get to the close, the more I feel, have felt that palpitation in my chest. The closer starts to doubt him or herself, or doubt the mission. So it's super vital that you handle this, that you don't have that physical reaction. If you continue to have, so the key here is to practice the skill of closing until you can have that meeting, have that exchange without having those physical reactions. Now, it's really interesting. It's really irrational to me. Why would the step of closing, which is the most directly related to your income and to the person's outcome, right? Hopefully their value that they're going to experience over their lifetime. Why would that step that's most directly related to the value of both of you make you physically ill? Right? What's happening there? How can you enjoy meeting with people, presenting the product, but just abhor people, abhor asking people to buy it? It's just a really strange, irrational fear. Most people are misinformed about selling and closing. I believe, and Katrina and I were talking about this the other day, closing, the yes to the close should be the norm, not the exception. You shouldn't walk out of the PS saying, phew, glad that worked out. You should, more likely it should be like, wow, okay, that guy didn't say yes. Well, that's weird. That ought to be your kind of eventual response. What could I learn from that no? That would be a great response to a close. Okay, so yeah, closing should be the norm, not the exception. Salespeople, dreamers, they're all a dime a dozen. People who want to change the world, dime a dozen. There's no shortage of dreamers. There's a shortage of closers, and it's the closers that are the highly compensated, and those that can really see the way they like to see the world shaped in their dreams. So, okay, 10 reasons why closers fail. And then we're going to get into the top 10 closes that you guys can have on your tool belt. Because again, average salesperson has 1, maybe 2 closes that they can fall back on. We're going to give you at least 10. And like I said, there's like over 100 in this book. But I picked out 10 that I like and I use, and I'm trying to just bake right into my life. But first, top 10 reasons. Number 1, pressure is seen as a bad thing. If you're unwilling to be insistent that they move forward with the solution you prepared because you believe that it's, better to be polite, that you have to just learn to accept a no. Where did we learn that? I think our parents probably taught us, when we're a young kid, to just shut up, kid, learn to accept no in life. You're going to hear no a lot in your life. You have to learn to accept no. Well, if you know for sure to the marrow of your bones that the solution you're preparing for this person will positively change their life, they will be better off having met you and having worked with you, then why choose politeness over that? Okay, so number 2, unwillingness to deal with the emotional discomfort. Some people retreat from emotional output. I do. And that sometimes keeps me from success. So when people outburst for reasons that have nothing to do with you, what do? Okay. When a baby starts crying, do you just kind of fall down and start crying too? No, you don't run from the discomfort. Again, I'm learning to do this myself. In my sales relationships, my personal relationships, don't run from the discomfort. Stay calm, do what you're there to do, and close the deal. So that's the second. The third is a lack of belief in some sort of lack of belief that you've got somewhere deep down, either in yourself or your product. So with Bank on Yourself, what is it that possibly is, not sitting well with you? Or what have you been sold on that you didn't realize you were sold on regarding some other rationale or solution or whatever? What is that lack of belief in yourself? Have you told yourself a lie that you just can't, you're just not good at closing, maybe? You have to believe more deeply than the client disbelieves. They have to rely on your belief, otherwise you're going to rely on theirs. So you have to know that they can afford your product, that you can afford your solution. you have to be sold yourself. You have to rehabilitate yourself on this over time. Rehabilitate the desire and the belief that you are, you have what it takes. I mean, that's a key comment. Do you have what it takes? If you don't have a resounding yes to that, then time to do a little maybe journaling. Again, either you close or you get closed. So the next one is the incorrect estimation of effort to win the close. If you have the wrong amount of effort estimated, you will fail. If you don't know the effort that it takes to get something done, you'll keep, underperforming and under training, and thereby underperforming. If you train for 3 pounds, you'll fail to lift 3 pounds. But if you train for 30 pounds, you'll be able to handle the 3 pounds no problem, right? This is why people like go running with weights on and other crazy things, because they're adding additional stress so that whenever they are there to perform, they can do it without problem, right? So so that's why when we do role play, sometimes we should just be like super jerks to each other and make it super hard to close. So don't have any hesitation, because overestimating that effort will help you in the real closes. Number 5, being reasonable. Complete every action once started. Don't let things hang out there. Close everything in your life. How's your desk? How's your sock drawer? How's your junk drawer? How are those projects? This is where that Getting Things Done book comes into play, I think. So just be unreasonable in your desire to close things down, to get things done. One closed deal becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 10, becomes 20. So hit those small wins. Don't be reasonable. Expect the close. If you have a bunch of unfinished projects in life, maybe you get more closes with your clients when you can close the deal on yourself to finish the garage or whatever it is. So number 6, whoops, there we go. Number 6, no financial plan for yourself. This one's big. Every close contributes to your financial plan. So, assuming that they continue to move forward and work with you, Amanda, and, with the PS that we did on Saturday, Beth, assuming that moves forward, that will contribute, the dollars in your pocket will contribute to your personal financial freedom plan. I don't want your personal financial freedom plan to just have the bar set at just paying your bills. I want you guys to blow this thing out of the water and to be unbelievably successful so that you have to come up with other excuses to spend money or save it or whatever. I need you to open up as many policies, because there's just nowhere else to put all the money that you get from your practice. Okay, so what is your dream? What kind of a world do you want to help influence? I mean, the more that's again where money comes from. I think money is basically just making you more of who you already are. So get aligned with your purpose. Figure out who you are. You'll end up closing more when you know that this guy or gal that you're sitting across the room from, you're going to help them reach their goals, and thereby they're going to help you reach yours. That's the winner's exchange. Okay, how does this deal contribute to that financial freedom plan? If you don't have a financial freedom plan, time to build one for sure. Incorrectly handling objections. Yeah, okay, so one more thing on this financial plan. Give yourself permission to think really, really big here. And again, it's not about dollars in your pocket or necessarily a big check or something, but what would you do with $10 million, $100 million? What would you do with that? And over your lifetime, you might see that start to materialize. This isn't like, law of attraction stuff. This is just, when you know that you need to get from home to work or from home to the grocery store, you set your sights on that goal and you get rid of all other options. You don't accidentally end up at the convenience store. You go straight to the grocery store because that was your goal. And you get rid of all other options. Okay, incorrectly handling objections. You got to just load up on the list of objections. I've mentioned that if you have a little journal, it would be wise to write down every time you hear an objection in the PSs that I'll be doing for you guys, and that you'll hear from your clients ongoing after the 5 that I do for you. So just writing down those objections, you'll start to see a pattern. Number 8, handling objections that are merely complaints. We talked about this a minute the other day, but you want to treat all objections as complaints until further validated. In other words, just because someone says the price is too high, or hey, what's the cost of insurance? Look at that cost of insurance. I can't believe that. Doesn't mean they won't buy it. Just agree with them. Yeah, you're right. Cost is too high. Here, sign here. The more you pay attention to it, the more they turn it into an objection. Okay. If they prove it to be an objection, then you pull over and you talk through the objection. But if it's just a complaint, great. Yeah, I agree with you. You're right. Sign here. All right, so number 9, a lack of quality closes. This one's huge. Again, most people have 1, maybe 2. The PS has 1 written right there for you, so you can't miss it at the end of the PS. Oh, Brandon?
Can I
Yeah,
add that
sure.
what you do on the close on the cost is too much is you go to year 4 every time and say who's paying who for the insurance.
That's right.
And that's a closing question, but also you're dealing with the objection of it's too high, I think.
Yep, price is never the issue. But it's often important for them to see that this does have cost. Actually, if you never showed them the cost, they wouldn't believe you. All the benefits are made more valuable when you show them that it costs something. Again, it's that winner's exchange. They're looking for that exchange too. They know that it's going to cost them something. Nothing's free, right? So what does it cost, and is it worth the cost? And it's okay to talk about the cost, because that gives them some assurance that this is worth more than the cost, right? I mean, Amanda, yesterday when we did that, I showed them, hey, look, it's going to cost you about $4,200 in the first year relative to your contributions, and like, yeah, no worries. I'm looking way down here at the end of the day, and what do I have at the end of the day? And I'm like, wow, they get it. When you hear them say stuff like that, when they're like, yeah, I get it. There's going to be a cost in the first few years, but I'm looking way down here. That's someone thinking long range. So I didn't. That's not even a complaint. That's not an objection. It's not even a complaint. They were already excited about the solution, long range. Okay, so yeah, great point, Brendan. Lack of quality closes. Have a deep bench on how many closes you can access. Wield them all with ease. These are really not meant for manipulation, but to get to that winner's exchange. So when we look at the next couple of slides, see how each one helps get the person to where they need to go and where they want to go with regard to the winner's exchange. That space where they give something of value and they get something of greater value. And the last one, an incorrect barrier can make you blinded to the real reason why you failed to close that last deal. Okay, so the closer is the ultimate and only barrier to every close. Not the customer, not the product, not the economy, not what happened last week on the Federal Reserve meetings, not Wall Street. The closer is the ultimate and only barrier to every close. So there's an old saying, no matter where you go, there you are. So the things that happen to you happen because of you, which can be really depressing or really awesome. You can take control and take change of your own life. It's not them doing something to you, it's you. Nothing happens to you, it happens because of you. And I'd say that you can usually take some solace in that, I believe. So what can I learn from this tragedy that happened to me? What can I do to learn or be benefited from, or even become blessed by this no that I got last week? What objections do you continue to get? Write them down. Again, if you continually bump into them, probably it has something to do with a belief that you have from yourself. If you're other books he talks about, like, if you're always pinching pennies, then you're likely going to get the cost question up a lot in your closes, but if you're generous with others, it's just weird, but you won't get the complaint of the price being too high. If you keep hearing questions about rate of return, maybe there's something in your belief pattern that says that they need to be paying attention to rate of return. Something in your script, something in your presentation is getting them to talk about rate of return. because it very rarely comes up with most of the expert bank on yourself folks. Okay, so any quick questions on this? Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to read through some of these closes, and again, write them down, take notes. I'm going to give some tips for each one, and these come from the page. I'll show you some numbers of each one, and they're pages from the book. Okay, so for example, page 108 is called the paperwork close, and it goes like this. Whose name will we be doing the paperwork in? Your name, your spouse's name, or both? Okay, so this is just assuming the close, right? There's paperwork on every deal. Every policy we set up includes applications. You could even ask this earlier to find out who the real decision maker is. So again, it goes like this. Whose name will we be doing the paperwork in? Your name, your spouse's name, or both? And that puts them in the control seat, but it also brings them to the close. All right, so the next one. This is spousal stall close number 1. If someone tells you, hey, I need to talk to my spouse, you can say this. Well, what if your spouse says no? And they answer, he won't. Great, then let's go ahead with the application. If they say, well, he will say no, we won't go forward, you might say this in response. Well, would he say no to the product or the money? You know, if it's the product, well, what do you suggest would be a better fit? If it's the money, what about the money? The monthly amount, the lump sum, the cost, fees of the product? Okay, so while people consult their spouses for decisions, many people decide today without checking in with their spouses. And in fact, it's interesting because if they say he won't, then let's go forward with the application. If he says, hey, he will say no, we're not going to move forward, then by asking these follow-up questions, hey, would he say no to the product or the money? If they answer either way, product or money, you know that the decision maker is sitting in front of you there, and that this is just simply a stall tactic or diversion, because they are the decision maker. You see how that works there? By asking them, well, hey, is it the money or the product? Then you can handle the objection if they can give you the answer to that question. All right, so more women actually will buy without their husband, I've found, than the other way around. That's not always true with financial products, but I have found that to be the case. So you want to check for it to be a valid objection with this close. You can also flush what the actual objection is. So if the real objection is the cost or fees, or if it's the monthly amount, you can usually figure that out. Oh, well, my husband would say that $800 a month is just too much. Okay, well, is it too much for the benefits that you're receiving, or is it too much because your budget is out of whack, or what is it about that? And now you're dealing with the objection and not just spousal stall, and that's the end of the conversation. See how that works, guys? So you use the leverage. It's almost like in wrestling, you use the weight of the opponent to sort of pin them down, so to speak. And in this case, you're turning the spouse, which is really a straw man, into determining or flushing out the objection. Any questions on how this one works, guys?
What if the answer is, I don't know?
Well, if you did know, what would it be? So again, there's several spouse stall closes in this book. This is one of my favorites. You could say, well, you can go to the next close on this and figure out what to say next. But I would typically say, well, if you did know, what would the answer be? And they'll usually tell you one of these two. It's the money, or I guess it's the product. I mean, people know their spouses. They know what the objection is going to be, if it's really an objection. Honestly, this is really to figure out if they're just using the spouse as a straw man for their own objection. Does that make sense? Some people call it the second baseman close for that reason.
So in most of the CQs and all that, we want both of them on the call. But do you get do you get most of them on the call, both the husband and wife?
Yes. Yeah, we're hopefully removing this from this close from ever having to happen. When at the end of the CQ we ask, well, who do you need to make a financial decision? Let's have them there at the PS. But it doesn't always work out that way. In which case, I do a few things. If they say, yeah, I can make the decision without my spouse, and then at the end of the PS, they're like, yeah, I need to talk to my spouse, I can go back to the CQ and be like, here's the exact words you said when I asked you this question. Do you remember saying that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not there to make them feel bad or shame, but I'm trying to get.
I've noticed.
Oh, Brandon, I think you froze. Oh, yep. I think we'll get to hear what he has to say here soon. Beth, did you have any thoughts on this one?
No, I think it'll happen a lot, so it's good to have this one.
Yeah.
I even did that one.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Meaning you did it. You said, hey, I need to talk to my spouse. You were the customer there, or you were the.
Right. Because when we're looking at going ahead, and of course he's not ready to actually do his policy yet, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way that goes.
Yep.
But yeah, in fact, I'm glad it didn't work that way with Eric and Sarah. They both got their answers done too that day. But I'm just asking Eric, are we doing that term policy on her too?
Oh, good. Yeah. Yep. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And there's at least four spousal stall closes here. But Brandon, are you back on?
Yes.
Okay. You had a question?
Oh, I noticed at the end of the RCQs, most of the people that we've done, I mean, I've done only 5 with you, but they noticed that question of the closing question.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they actually, they're like, oh, wow, that's a really good question. Oh, you're closing me. That's really good.
Yeah. One guy actually said, you're an expert at this, aren't you?
Yeah. And
I took it as a compliment.
Yeah. And I saw that like twice.
That is rare. People don't normally do that, but yeah. Two people for so far for you.
Because I was like, well, apparently it works. They noticed it.
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I'm telling you, people know that this is like an important question. They recognize that this is an important question. You're not letting them just slime off the hook. You want to have them have a real, actual, honest conversation to get them to that winner's exchange. Otherwise, what was the point of the whole conversation? I do need to keep moving through these if we're going to get a break here, so let me keep on rolling here. But I would recommend you look at spousal stall number 4 if you have questions or trouble with this one, or if they squirm off this one, you can talk to them about number 4. So I'll leave you at that. You guys can check that one out. Agreement close 2. Hey, I agree it's a lot of money, and I expect you knew it would take a lot of money to reach your financial goals before we met today. Now let's take the first step forward toward reaching your goals and get the paperwork started. So most people have a sense that it's going to take a lot of stinking money to reach their financial goals, retirement, college funding, etc. No one says, hey, I love cutting way back on my pizza night and my coffee and my other luxuries and indulgences. No. Everybody usually has some sort of complaint right before the close. Notice I said complaint, not objection. And notice that we say, I agree at the beginning of this. You want to agree with them. It's okay to agree. Even if you disagree that they shouldn't be spending that much money on their, Lexus or whatever. I agree it's a lot of money, and I expect you knew it would take a lot of money to reach your financial goals before we met today. Now, let's take the first step toward reaching those goals and get the paperwork started. Boom. Lethal close.
Mm-hmm.
Number 178, momentum close. We do this on the personalized solution packet. I've put all the numbers together for you, and this is what we can do for you. And then boom, 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 that narrative summary page on the PS. We're going to give you this much in death benefit. You're going to have this much in cash value in 4 years. You're going to have this much in income in retirement. You're getting that momentum going. You're rolling down that page like a waterfall. Let's do the application and get this going. So the idea there is to present the figures, go over them, ask them for approval. Is this looking good? Is this making sense? You'll hear me doing this, guys, when I'm doing the PS. So tough buyers, people who may be comparing your pricing to something else they've received earlier, will love this. You got to be confident, be in control, be professional, look them in the eyes. This is perfect for people who are wanting to overanalyze. This might be this might be an opening close toward the end of the solution meeting. So maybe the first thing you say, there might be further closes that you have to use after this, but this is a great one to start on. And it's just about getting the momentum rolling. Okay. Think about it. There's like 6 think about it closes in the book, and they're all awesome. But this number 2 is really good. I understand. Okay, so agree with the client, right? I understand. However, you thinking about it will not change the fact that this solution saves you money, grows your wealth, your family needs it, and you're going to do it sooner or later. So let's get it done so you can think about other things that need your attention. So show understanding, then close over this invalid objection, Grant says. If you think it's reasonable that people add time to their decisions, then you need to handle your own belief about that. Because when people are sold, they don't think, they buy. Okay. Think about it, close number 3. Great. Okay, you need to think about it. Great. Do you think 2 or 3 days will be better? Or 2 or 3 days, will that be long enough? Or is 2 or 3 weeks better? Most people have told me, guys, that they just need 2 or 3 days to think about it. Okay, great. You think 2 or 3 days would be better, long enough, or do you think 2 or 3 weeks is better? Oh, the buyer will probably say 2 or 3 days. Truth is, Mr. Client, no matter how long you take, you'll be faced with the same 3 questions. Is it okay if I share them with you? Number 1, does this solution get me what I wanted? Number 2, can I afford this solution? Number 3, is Mark the kind of person that I want to do business with? If yes to all, then let's roll and start the application. All right, this is one of my favorites in his book. I think it's one of the best ones you can do. Memorize this one, understand it, know it like the back of your hand. While it relieves the sense of the person having to make a decision right now and giving them up to 3 weeks to think, it allows them to present the only reasons why people won't buy. It also sets up really identifying the real objection. So here it is again. You need time to think about it. Great. Do you think 2 or 3 days would be long enough, or is 2 or 3 weeks better? If the buyer says, usually you'll say 2 or 3 days. Truth is, no matter how long you take, you'll be faced with the same 3 questions. May I share them with you? Number 1, does this solution get you what you wanted? Number 2, can you afford this solution? Number 3, am I the kind of person that you'd want to do business with? If yes to all 3, let's roll. Start the application. By the way, if they say 3 weeks is better, just roll with it. Truth is, no matter how long you take, 3 months, 3 years, you're going to come up with these same 3 questions. May I share them with you? Number 1, does this solution get you what you wanted? Number 2, can you afford this solution? Number 3, am I the kind of person you want to do business with? If they say no to any of those, then explore that objection. But if they say yes, then roll with the application. Cool? Great close. All right, think about it, 1 through 10. I use this one a lot at the end of the PS. I need to think about it, Mark. Great. Most people want to take the time to think about their decision before making it. Let me ask you, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being that you're absolutely certain and ready to go, and 1 being that you wouldn't take it no matter what, where would you say you stand at this time? Get an answer and then ask, what would make it a 10? That'll help really flush out the objection. And by the way, if they say 8, then I talk to them about how being 80% sure is enough to go ahead with the application. Who is really a 10 on anything? I know Katrina didn't think, she wasn't a 10 on marrying me. She was a 10 in my heart, but she wasn't totally convinced that she needed to marry me at that point, I'm sure. There was still doubt, still reservation. Heck, maybe even this morning, I don't know. Just kidding. But yeah, the point is, if people are mostly sure they're going to do something, even if the numbers might change, it's fine to go ahead with the application. And if they say a 7, if they say a 7, then what's it going to take to get to an 8? All right, you'll have time between the application and underwriting to continue to move closer to that final decision on final amounts, start dates, that sort of thing. All right, so another great close. All right, we're getting closer to the end here. I got 3 more. Okay, if someone says copy of the illustration close, leave me the illustration. Leave me the personalized solution. I'll think about it. I'd be happy to send you a copy of the illustration. Give me 1 minute and I'll be right back. Make a copy, return. Mr. Buyer, I realized while I was making a copy for you that if this product was exactly what you wanted and the figures were exactly right, I wouldn't be making a copy, I'd be getting your application. What is not right? Okay, so again, you know that you're going to come back. Maybe you don't even have, maybe you do have the copy, maybe you don't. But you know, leaving that meeting, you get up from the table and go make that copy. You know you're coming back to say these exact words. All right, so this is a truly master close as it uses the objection, and it gives them a moment to be left off the hook. When you return with the copy, you start closing again. People don't want more to look at. They usually use this as a reason to avoid making a decision. This is also a good time to get another person involved to flesh out the real objections. So if you're doing this in person, you can certainly do it exactly like I've drawn it up here. But if it's digitally, you can be drafting the email or taking whatever few seconds it takes to pull up the file and put it on email to send to them. Oh, as I was putting this email together, Mr. Client, while you were on hold there for about a minute, I realized that while I was making this email or sending this email draft over to you, that if this solution that we presented today was exactly what you wanted and the figures were exactly right, I wouldn't be making a copy. I'd be getting your application ready. So tell me, what's not right here? Pregnant pause. Don't answer your own question. Let them talk and let them tell you what the objection is. Okay. Number 248, the Ben Franklin close. This one's great. All right. So I understand how hard it is to make this decision. This is for the people who are really just can't figure it out. They go back and forth, back and forth. It is said that Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers, when faced with a big decision, would write down the pluses and minuses of the decision so he could get a true evaluation of the right thing to do. Grab a sheet of paper. So, what are the positives of this solution? What are the negatives? If the advantages outweigh the negatives, do it. If not, don't do it. Don't invest. All right, so you can write down pluses and minuses. You just create yourself a little spreadsheet. And at the end, turns out this guy, advantages like guaranteed to grow. Well, that's super important to me, Amanda. Okay, great. Let's make that a plus 10. Line of credit for my business, plus 5. College savings for Timmy, plus 4. Costs are $10,000 in year 1. And you might miss the best years on Wall Street, number 4. Okay, so that's a total of -9 plus 16 is +7. Let's do this. So this might take you 15 minutes to fill all this out. And it's great because it helps you get their complaints, even if they're not objections. These are the complaints. It costs $10,000 in year 1. Okay, this is a great close. Feel, felt, found close. This is another favorite of mine. Okay, so I appreciate how you feel. I have felt the same way until I found out cost of college is going up at 7% a year, or calculated the cost of lifestyle and retirement. And the bottom line is you need this now. Let's do this. So again, I appreciate how you feel. I felt the same way until I found out how much it's going to cost for me to live in retirement. And I calculated those numbers. And the bottom line is you need this now. Let's do this. So this is all about empathy and understanding, feel, felt, found, and then move back to why they should do it anyway. A great close, easy to remember. So again, going back to those stated concerns on their CQ page maybe would be helpful. Making sure that they feel that you have not just crunched the numbers, but you feel their pain, as Bill Clinton might say. And you can help them with that motivation to move past complacency and get to action. Great close. And the last one we'll look at here. If someone tells you, hey, we never make rash decisions, we're not going to do this. Yeah. Yes, Katrina, I feel the same way. I hear you, and I agree with you. But the reality is there's only a few reasons why you won't do this tonight, none of which has anything to do with your ability to make decisions. May I share them with you? Number 1, lack of confidence in the financial solution. Number 2, the cost is not right. It's not worth the value that it brings. Or number 3, you don't have confidence in me or the company. So let me ask, which one is it? Nothing to do with decision close. This is a great one. Quit letting them delay the close with time. Find out what the real objection or complaint or stall is. This is a great close. You'll gain the respect of the buyer when you use it. People avoid making decisions because they lack confidence in their own ability to make good decisions. I heard this literally word for word from someone yesterday. Mark, all I ever do is make mistakes with money. Wow. People avoid making decisions because they lack the confidence in making their own good decisions about money, and because something still just isn't sitting right with them. So this helps really figure out what that is. We never make a rash decision, Mark. We're not going to make a decision tonight. I hear you. I agree. But the reality is there's only a few reasons why you won't do this tonight, none of which has anything to do with your ability to make decisions. May I share them with you? Number one, lack of confidence in the financial solution I presented to you. Number two, the cost isn't right, or something about it, it's not worth the value that it brings. Or number three, you don't have confidence in me or the company. So which one is it? Again, great closes. All of these, learn them like the back of your hand. This is just a taste of what you could really get. I found that these 10 would be enough for you to really memorize or practice, drill, rehearse. We are going to take a break. Thank you guys for sticking with me here on this. And we'll come back at, what do you say, 10:30, 10:37? Let's do 10:37. And we'll meet back in 10:37. We'll keep rocking and rolling with some role play. Cool.